Hi everyone and welcome back to Escapes Etc. My name's Laura and in a couple of months' time I'm moving to Australia with my partner Tom. Now since we announced that we're moving to Australia, I've got quite a lot of questions from people and the biggest one has got to be, how are we doing it? Well, basically if you want to move to Australia you're going to need some kind of visa. A few years ago we needed a working holiday visa and that's a great one. You're allowed to work and travel in Australia, but this time round we're going on a permanent residency visa, which is a 190 visa. If you've seen any of my other videos before, you'll know it was a long process for us. It took 3 years for us to get this visa. But today I want to talk you through what the process is for us. Now, the process will be a little bit different for everybody, so this isn't a guide, this isn't official advice. If you want all of that, then you need to speak to a MARA registered agent. And they are authorised to give you all the information and they're regulated as well, so they're the people you need to speak to. So here was the process that we went through to get our visas. So our visa journey started back in January 2021 on my 30th birthday. I remember I'd just been scrolling through Facebook and I came across an ad for the Down Under Centre. They run free webinars every month, so I thought, well, nothing to lose, let's have a look and see what we can find basically. So I remember I watched it, and then a couple of days later me and Tom were like, right, let's get in touch with them and let's see what they're going to say. We had a call with them and it turns out through Tom, who's worked in IT for a number of years and has got a degree in IT, that we can use his skill to get over to Australia. The way the skilled visa works is Australia's got a skilled occupation list, and it's just a list of all the skills and jobs of people that they want somewhere in Australia as a whole. And then from there each state kind of picks out from that list who they want in their state. So it's a long and complex process, which is why a migration agent is so great. But I'm going to try and summarise it the best I can as well, just to help you. So after we'd spoken to the Down Under Centre and we'd give them the go ahead and we decided it's definitely something we wanted to do, the first thing we had to do was compile evidence of Tom having worked in IT and having a degree in IT as well. So that meant compiling things like contracts from his previous employers and his current one, getting payslips and getting his degree certificate and doing declaration forms from previous employers or a statutory declaration for his current one because we didn't want to go to them and tell them that we're moving to Australia. Now unfortunately Tom wasn't the best at keeping hold of things like payslips and contracts, so it meant taking time to contact his previous employers and getting these reissued and resent out. But we got there in the end and it was all fine. So all of this had to be compiled and then it goes off to our migration agent who then submit it to a skills assessing body. And that skills assessing body then kind of proves to Australian government that Tom is skilled in what we say he's skilled in. So that took time, but that really was the first step for us. But in the meantime, Tom was also studying to do an English test. So one thing you have to bear in mind with the 190 or the 491 visa is that it's a skilled visa, but it's points based. So the more points you can get, the better it is. So you'll get points for things like how long you've been working in that skilled occupation for, how highly you are educated in it, how old you are, if you've got a partner, if they're English, lots of different things. But one way to get more points is to do an English test. Tom did the Pearson PTE English test, which is kind of like a computer-based English test, but you still have to do reading, writing, speaking and listening. And I know it sounds a bit crazy because he is English and he's been born here, he's gone to school here, university and everything, but doing this English test is not like the kind of English test you do in school. So he had to study basically to pass the test. Did lots of practice ones online, we bought some kind of guides and things for him to practice on, and luckily he did so well. He got 20 points, which is the highest score you can get when you do the PTE. So that gave us 20 points to kind of bolster up our application. Once we'd got the response back from the skills assessor and Tom had done his English test, the next thing we had to do was wait until the states opened and each state can say, hey, I want so-and-so, and they can say, I want so-and-so. And of course we just had to wait to see which state wanted IT people. When they did eventually open up, because everything takes time, nothing is quick, we found that New South Wales, South Australia and Victoria were open to having IT customer support people, which is the skill that Tom is skilled in. For New South Wales and South Australia, they were offering the 491 visa, which is the regional visa. And that's great, it's a really good opportunity to get out there still, but it doesn't give you permanent residency, but it does lead on to it eventually. But Victoria were offering the 190 visa, which is the one we really wanted. So we put in what is called an expression of interest to all 3 of those states. So an expression of interest is pretty much just saying, hey, I'm skilled in IT, here's the assessing body that proved that I am, I want to go and live there. And then we just waited again to see who would come back to us. So after a while, New South Wales finally got back to us and they offered us to put in an application for the 491. Even though we'd already put an application in, you have to then wait for them to come back and then they invite you to actually put the application in. It's really long. It's really, really weird. I don't get it. So we did that and then it carried on. So after that, we had to wait for that to be approved by New South Wales. And then once that happened, we had 60 days to then lodge our visa. And we did that around Christmas time in 2022. And of course, at each of these stages, you're paying money, but the biggest expense is the visa itself. So we paid for the visa for the 491. You have to pay for both people. So in all, I think it was about $7,000. And we thought, great, we're going either way. You know, obviously, until you get that visa, there's always a chance you're not, but we're probably all right. But then, a few months later, Victoria, because we left our expression of interest sitting with them, the state of Victoria got in touch and said, hey, yeah, put in your application for the 190 with us. And we were like, we've got to do it. Now, it was a huge expense because that would mean having to repay for our visas again, so like another $7,000. But all in all, it was worth it. So the thing with the 190 is that you get permanent residency, and things like when it comes to buying a house, it's a lot better. If you don't have permanent residency, you have to pay all sorts of kind of like foreign person fees and extra taxes and things like that. So for big things like that, it's really good to have permanent residency. So even though it meant stumping up all that money again, it was kind of short-term pain, long-term gain. So we lodged our visa in March 2023. And then really it's just a waiting game. And I have to admit, I got way too sucked into trying like find patterns about how often they were granting visas and things like that. But in reality, this was still kind of the runoff from COVID, because a lot of this was happening as things were kind of just about starting to open up, and there was obviously a big backlog. And at the time, they were mostly prioritising medical people and teachers and nurses and social workers, people from that kind of industry. So you see, IT's not really in that category. And the other thing was that when we actually lodged this visa, the average processing time was 36 months. That's right, 3 years to wait for this visa. We just had no choice. But fortunately, as the kind of months rolled on, they updated the average processing times, and it kind of eventually got to around the 12, 14 months. It doesn't count for an awful lot, this processing time, but it gives you a little bit of an idea. And then kind of January 2024 rolled around, so we're kind of 10 months down the line. There did seem to be a bit more of a pattern going on, and people were starting to get granted in more and more of an order, and they cleared the backlog of all their priority skills like the teachers and the medical people. So I was kind of sitting there and kind of thinking, right, it looks like it's definitely going to be this year. Because I'd had many years when I thought, this is our year. And 2 more years had rolled round. And then Tom and I decided to go to New York, and I met up with my friends there from university. I've got a couple of them that live out there, so it was like a good place for us to all get together. And I remember on the Tuesday when we were out there, we woke up randomly, due to jet lag I think, with a message from our migration agent saying call me. And I thought it's only going to be one thing. So 4 o'clock in the morning US time, we gave her a call back and we finally got our visa granted. I have to say, we both just kind of sobbed really. After 3 years of waiting and kind of putting your life on hold, and we moved from our place back in with family, which we're incredibly grateful for of course, but you know, everything kind of gets put on hold because you're just waiting. And every single stage of this process is just an unknown amount of time to wait. You don't really get any guidelines. It's literally, it takes as long as it takes, and Australian immigration does what it wants. So yeah, our visa process time took from, well, all in all, January 2021 until February 2024, which is insane when I think about it. But like I said, the 190 visa was the one we really wanted. It kind of gives you the ultimate freedom. We can do what we like, we can live where we like, and that has ultimately allowed us to live in Brisbane. If we didn't have the 190 visa and we were on the 491, we probably would have gone to South Australia and we would have gone to Adelaide, which looks incredible, but Brisbane was really where we wanted to be. So I'm so grateful that we have that opportunity. So like I said, this was just our journey to moving to Australia on the 190 visa. But if you're thinking of doing it, do get in touch with a migration agent and make sure they're MARA registered. In the meantime, if you've got any questions about kind of what we've been through and how we've done it, then leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to help. But make sure you do seek proper professional advice. Well, that's it for now, and I really hope you found this useful. I just wanted to share how we've managed to get to Australia and the kind of visa options that there might be available for you too. See you later.